Hi people, welcome to BluUKJazzDance. Yes we can, on the projects I created, yes we can use dance to improve our communication skills. Now some individuals don't know that communication is simply, well, communication is a broad thing, so let me talk about communication is oral speaking, obviously, writing. Communication skills is presentation and performance, and the irony of my situation is I used it proactively to improve my communication skills, my performance skills. Before I knew any technical knowledge, there was authoritative information describing that dancing did this and which type of dancing does that by the nature of what it is. So, example, I was unaware that what was recognized, contemporary dance and modern dance, because of its experimental nature, for dancers to go to the stage improvising, it led to them being more creative and being better at communication skills. Do you understand? Communicating through creative methods and articulating himself was shown than you being a ballet dancer or a jazz dancer. I think jazz dancer came afterwards. Now, what's unique about my art form, UK Jazz Dance, is it's an improvisational art form. It's an experimental art form. That's what it is. It's not set in stone. There's no steps. You create the steps from getting music. Basically, you go into a room, you listen to music, and you develop steps from your own intuition. You develop steps from experimenting. You develop steps through games and play. Each pioneer is totally different. So one of the key things I identify, yes, you can use dance as a tool to develop your communication skills. Now, what happens is, yes, you can find authoritative information to support that now today. And I was an individual that used to speak about it because as an individual I did a lot of work to do with working as I was a British representative in the UK and abroad, where I talked about dance and its impact on my life by using photographs like this. So what happened, part of that work was breaking stereotypes is one of the key things, and about people, that was one key thing. Me coming from the slums of Manchester, going to live in the suburbs, being in the city, then living in the inner cities and working in the city areas. And basically most of my life I'd been in suburban primary school, suburban secondary school, suburban college, and as an individual I basically was involved in the arts, and that was mainly a lot of middle class kids. I'd been involved in the arts, in mainstream arts, and in the mainstream world of arts it was mainly middle class kids that I was with. And I was involved in freestyle arts, that was underground working class kids that was involved in, mainly based in that freestyle arts. Experimental arts, again, that was again part of the involvement was middle class kids I was involved in was in experimental arts. But I was making people aware that what's happening, there's a sort of a stereotype, because what happened was the experimental arts world is actually broke up into cultures. So what you had in the inner city areas, their art forms are experimental. People never identified in that was a problem. And secondly, you have Asian underground artists, experimental artists. You had African experimental artists. They're all individuals experimenting with cross-cultural experimental art forms. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's what I noted from my involvement in the arts. And my involvement in the arts took me to a wide range of places. So my involvement in the arts took me to holistic health, freestyle arts, commercial arts, bohemian arts. Do you understand? These are some of the things that were happening. Avant-garde arts. It's amazing the amount of different arts there is. And I involved myself in exploring because I became a champion of promoting arts. But most importantly, my own art. So I showed individuals these are the benefits, because I'm very much an advocate of arts education, and I need to really say that. Arts education is used to empower people to be bigger, better and bolder in shaping their characters and values. So one of the things I talk about is I was basically at first a person advocate for the arts and involved in British representative, working with other people who were actually doing that, doing exchanges with people that did that in Europe and in Britain, who came here, who were about introducing arts to people in their local communities, in education and in the creative culture industries. And we talked about the difference, because I talked about the arts in the creative culture industry is one that really bastardizes people's culture, talk a little bit about the entertainment. So we were in arts, culture and entertainment, I should say that. I was very much the ambassador of that, individuals, and talked about the road of the art within communal setting becoming to be one in the commercial industries. It was mainly by stress, anxiety of not being able to feed oneself. So recessions is how I came to involved in engaging in UK jazz dance in the commercial industries. That's how it came, because there was lack of funding, there was lack of money around. So individuals not wanting to get themselves involved in a life of crime or anything, they turned to promoting themselves, turned to be promoters and producers, directors of their own work. Now what happened with me was an amazing story. Was I had a theatrical side of my dance, which I brought to a ballet school, and the teacher became my agent, and basically I did vintage work through that. Do you understand? With the individual, I created a character, I showed her what I did, I had a portfolio. So when I went, I was very business minded in what I wanted to do, and I gave her a picture of what I wanted to do with my art. I didn't just go and say I wanted to learn tap, ballet, modern. Do you understand? I want to know the industry, etc. I didn't do that. I went and said, this is me, the Adventures of Swing Kid. I have a vision for what I want to do. Now my vision was to be in the RAF. My vision was to do my own vintage plays, my own vintage showcases, my own vintage galas and all that. So I had a vision for it, and I seen that vision from television. All my knowledge around jazz dance really came from the television. Now the creativity didn't come from the television, it came from studying records. The back of records, reading the back, is where I got my creativity. And this is why I wanted to share with people, yes, we can develop ourselves through lifelong learning, but we can develop ourselves through reflecting on our backgrounds of our journey into dance. And yes, we can use that to help others, because I did that with my own son. With my own son, I took him through the authentic journey that I've been through. My mother and father introduced me to the social dances of the day, and then what happened was I introduced him to what was happening in my world as an individual musically, and what happened in his world, a new world was coming up, and that world was hip-hop. My son was born in '85, which is very, very important. But my journey was never to be a dancer. People assumed that I wanted to make my son a dancer. I said, if he becomes a dancer, I've got a problem with it, because I know that what's happening, my journey with my son was to let him know I knew dance was the best activity to culture ground my son. Because you can do sports, but your sports, it doesn't culture ground you in your community. Because mainly when I was doing athletics for Sale Harriers, when I was doing cricket for Lancashire Cricket Ground, when I did cricket for Flixton Boys, yeah, and when I was playing football, I was not in my community. So it's important to understand, when I did dance, my social dancing, I was in my community. So I learned the communal behaviours, activities, I learned about projects, I learned about the politics in my community, what was happening legally, what was happening, what were the concerns of my community. I came more politicised, more aware culturally and cross-culturally aware as a smaller group, because our culture actually fuses many different cultures. That's how jazz evolved in the beginning, from being involved in community and having concerns about other cultures and celebrating oneself with them other cultures. What happens is a person who celebrates their cultures among cultures, guess what happens? They draw upon other cultures because they've interacted in a positive way with other cultures, and I recognize that as an individual. So when you see my dancing, was what happened was jazz itself in the world started to look to the stage. That's what it did, because it wanted to survive. So dancers wanted to make money from the dancing, because they're dancing in the streets for pennies. That's how it happened. Do you understand? So from the streets to the pennies, many people ended up dancing for kings and queens on the established stage, because the road was that way. Because the communal, what happened, the communal setting wasn't paying them money, they had a talent, because everybody got taught. Within the working class setting, what do we get taught? Use your talent. So Michael Jordan used his talent, basketball. Yeah, Jackie Robinson used baseball. But what was their environment? Their environment was one of oppression, where they weren't getting opportunity to have freedom and liberate themselves to do some of the things that they wanted. And that was the same with me as an individual. So I taught my son dance as a tool to make him feel good about who he was. I use it as a tool for him to find himself, because what dance does, it brings you into a road of escapism. And through escapism is an activity, and able to escape a positive world and to find yourself, and you find yourself spiritually, mentally and physically. Dance grounds you, because it does a number of key things. Dance improves your cognition. Dance improves your communication skills. Dance improves your creative thinking skills, which is your problem solving skills. And that's what happened to me as an individual. Even though I was failing in my O levels as a person with special education needs, what happened, dance kept me optimistic, hopeful about what I wanted to do, which was I wanted to be in the RAF. With dance, it's about trial and error. You have goal setting markers, but what happens is failure in dance leads you to be a better dancer. And that's what I learned through dance. That's why I taught my son dance, because I knew it would take him through life skills that I couldn't give him. And it's going to teach him, coach him how to develop friends, how to work as a person who has to solo, as a person who has to be a partner with someone and as a group. Now my dancing went to, what happened was important was I was a dancer, a UK jazz dancer that explored wider cultural dances. So I went on to do ballet. I went into, which was a prerequisite to stage jazz, which I wanted to do. I wanted to do tap. I wanted to do ballroom, tango, and all them things I later introduced my son to. He went to dance college himself, like me, as a journey. But he ended up not doing that work. He ended up being a professional dancer for a while. Then he found there was other things that he could do. But what happened, his mind had been open, his mind had been broadened, and he could use his dance transferable skills. And that's one of the things I talk about, yes we can. As an individual, engage in dance as an activity to develop skills for world activities. And it's been recognized now. What happened in the past? What happened was dance was stigmatized. Male dancing, you're gay, you do this and all that. It was a lot of nonsense. Because male dancing has been around as time can be. Because the most important thing people need to know, that remember, females weren't allowed on the stage of dancing, males were allowed on the stage to dance. Do you understand? It's important. But male warriors dance. Warrior dancing had a journey from being a warrior. Male dancing was always done by people, and people need to understand that they interpreted animals, they mimicked animals, they mimicked nature, they mimicked sounds, they mimicked animals, etc., etc. So one of the key things was, as an individual, I said, I as an individual shaped my son to engage in his own cultural dancing first, because his cultural dancing says who he is, what he is, where he comes from. It shares with him, these are the social skills. So if anywhere he went in the world, if we did soul dancing among his people, he knows how to communicate. He knows the physical development among his people. He knows how to communicate. He knows the established values and attitudes and behaviors, the positive values I'm talking about, the positive attitudes, the positive behaviors that you're supposed to display at a social event. That is why I taught my son that. Because some kids don't know their own social dancing. And what happens is they feel embarrassed by that. And one of the things I learned from myself of being among middle class kids who go to dance school, when they're in social environments of social dancing, they feel embarrassed and they feel inadequate. And that inadequateness led to people to start to drink to dance, and inadequateness led to them to start to take drugs to dance. That is what all feel embarrassed that they can't dance. Because what happens is if you come into a social environment like my community and other communities, which is important, their own community where they have dancers, they feel embarrassed. They can't communicate with others, can they? They have to sit down because you don't know the moves that are important. So with my son, that's why I taught him dance. That it was important that, son, you need to know to social dance. And what happened was, anywhere I've gone in the world, e.g., I went to Finland, I learnt their social dancing. I went to an amazing square dance event, and I thought, I'm determined to fit in and communicate. So I learned square dancing in Finland. I learned bits of flamenco. I learned bits of tango. I learned bits of ballroom. At social dance events, I try to learn the dance of the day. I don't start drinking and start smoking and taking drugs and being an utter jackass. Do you understand? No. Yes, we can use dance as a tool to develop our leadership skills and develop our communication skills, because dance is a activity where we learn key communication skills. What are the key communication skills? 58% is body language. 35% is self-expression. So the art form teaches you to communicate and self-express. 7% is words, because what happens at a social event? Do we not talk? Do we not interact with each other? Hi, how are you? What you been doing? Have you learnt the new moves? Have you got the new record? Do you understand? They're the things that happen at events. Do you know when the next social event is? Then what happens at competition, at social events, competition takes place. Then what happens, people collaborate with each other and create new moves through what they're doing depending on their art form, right? And what happens is, what's happened with social dances, they tend to evolve. So my art form is one of the most self-expressive art forms I could have done, and it comes under research. Yes, now I can show research showing you that involving myself in modern dance, involving myself in contemporary dance, and involving myself in experimental dance, asking me to improvise on the stage or in certain activities, increases my creativity and improves my communication skills. I got that. Now, there's other knowledge sharing with you the health benefits of dance, the improvement to cognition, how it makes you feel, improving bone density, etc., etc. BluUKJazzDance out.